Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, got Nick here in attendance with me, as we are today going to be going through our recap for NXT this past Tuesday. So, this is obviously off the back of the Royal Rumble. We are on the road to Vengeance Day, NXT Vengeance Day, and we've got big things coming up here on the show, ready to talk about for NXT. So, the opening segment of the night would actually start up with a match between Stephanie Vicaire, who seemingly is the number one contender for the NXT Women's North American Championship. In fact, she is, because she has a match against Fallon Henley at Vengeance Day itself. So she would go one-on-one with JC Jane of Fatal Influence. And the other Fatal Influence members would be at ringside for this one, Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley. They would be there in attendance watching on as JC Jane would attempt to beat Stephanie Vicaire. And it would be a fruitless effort for JC Jane because Stephanie Vicaire would eventually get the win in the end. It wouldn't be without its little bit of controversy because you had Jasmine Nix in the middle of the ring trying to distract Stephanie. I think Stephanie would actually hit her with a headbutt, I want to say. Maybe correct me on that one if I'm not right. But yeah, she basically lay out Jasmine Nix, and she would get the victory over JC Jane, fighting through the adversity there, taking on a couple of women really at the same time, I suppose, if you can say it like that. And yeah, she would basically stare down Fallon Henley as she would cover JC Jane. So yeah, Fallon's title is looking a little bit, under threat here by Stephanie Vicaire. I think we could put it that way. That match of NXT Vengeance Day should be a absolutely brilliant one. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be. And Stephanie Vicaire just completely rolling with the momentum here as of recently, getting a victory here over JC Jane. We'd then go into our next segment of the night, which would be a promo with Lexis King, the NXT Heritage Cup champion. And he would basically be going on to say how, in recent times, he's been trying to step away from his father's sort of legacy and trying to make a different persona of himself. This would actually be the first time in a while that we'd actually see more of a heel type promo from Lexis King. And he'd actually basically be saying how he knows who he is now. And he's fully aware of what he has to do in order to be successful. Obviously, the NXT Heritage Cup is a good thing to be looking at, to confirm that you are being successful. And I think now he's got that confidence to really sort of pushing him to that next level. And he'd be sort of giving it a bit more with as the segment would go on. But actually, it would get to a point where he'd be interrupted. And I don't think many people saw who he'd be interrupted by, because it would actually be Fandango. I think he goes by a different name now, because he's a TNA superstar. But Fandango would actually appear, and he would return to NXT. First time we've seen him there since, I think, when he was with Tyler Breeze of the Fashion Police. That's going back a little while now. But yeah, it looks to be that Fandango is the next contender for the NXT Heritage Cup, because they would actually set up a match next week on NXT. So it will be Fandango versus Lexis King for that Heritage Cup. So quite the interesting segment here. Didn't expect Fandango. Did not have that coming whatsoever. Very big shock and surprise. On to our next segment. We would then have a match between Ridge Holland going one-on-one with Channing Stacks Lorenzo of the D'Angelo family. And this would be a chance for Ridge Holland to basically stick it to Tony D'Angelo. He'd lose a match recently because of Izzy Dame, and they would try this again this week. Izzy Dame would actually get onto the apron, trying to distract Ridge Holland to the referee, just sort of try and allow Stacks to get the win. But Ridge would have a bit more about him this time, and he would actually turn things around and get the victory on this occasion instead. So Ridge Holland, clearly still the number one contender for the North American Championship. Tony D'Angelo, keeping himself relevant in that particular story. And then we would go to the women's division for a tag team match. We'd have Sol Ruka and Zarya. They would be going up against the team of Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. Shotzi would be at ringside for this one, watching on her tag team members. But it would be Sol Ruka and Zarya who would get the victory here in this match. I think they haven't really had the best run since forming as a team. They're sort of makeshift team. But yeah, this is a big victory for them. Maybe allow them to get some momentum. I can see these two being together as a team for a little while, but I don't think it's going to materialize into anything, anything top tier. I have a feeling maybe at one point, Zarya could turn on Sol Ruka, perhaps, maybe down the line. But that's just sort of my immediate sort of early, I guess, guess going into, their sort of end goal here. Maybe a feud between the two of them, perhaps eventually. But yeah, for now, it keeps these two on the card being relevant and getting them involved each week. which is ultimately good for them getting TV time. But what about you, Nick? What did you think of these opening 4 segments? Did you have Fandango appearing in 2025 on your bingo card on NXT? And what did you make of the women's division matches, as well as Ridge Holland getting a victory?
Yeah, I certainly did not have Fandango returning, but that was a great surprise. Maybe one could argue maybe would have been more fun to see him at the Rumble. But either here nor there, getting him here in NXT is a great place to start, now known as JDC. So yeah, giving him an opportunity to go up against Lexus King for the Heritage Cup. No complaints at all on my end. And further to building up to Vengeance Day, Stephanie Vaquer becoming number 1 contender. I think that's the right call. And I think I would be shocked if she doesn't have a title after Vengeance Day, as much as or at Vengeance Day, as much as maybe that's not something that you'll favor. And Ridge Holland winning, I think it's the right call. Continuing to elevate him. I think he has massive potential. And I think he kind of fell on some bad luck with what happened on Maine. And honestly, it feels like he's one of those locks for me personally, in which I think he should be back on Maine come after Mania. He's just improved so much, and honestly, I've never really felt like he deserved the rap he got. Just happened to, and Biggie has stated before that it's not his fault. That's part of the business, and not going down a rabbit hole or anything. But I think he's tremendous, and I think we should see him back on Maine sooner rather than later. I think he has a lot of potential. And then the tag match, this one just kind of feels like a bit filler. I personally don't feel like there was any really point of the match. But as you mentioned, maybe a heel turn in play for Zarya at some point. She's just a character that I feel like is going to always be a heel and never really be a tag partner, so to speak. But yeah, so far so good, and crazy that we already have another PLE and next weekend. So and then kind of a nice little mid-month break in between now and Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's sort of like, I don't know, keep us all interested and keep the big matches coming along, because there's plenty of action still, through NXT. Vengeance Day is going to be really, really good. And for one reason especially that I'm really looking forward to NXT Vengeance Day is the NXT Women's Championship match. And we would actually see a segment regarding all of that take place next on this episode of NXT. We'd have, in the middle of the ring, we'd have Bayley and Roxanne Perez to kick things off. And they would sort of like have a little bit of back and forth about the Royal Rumble. Roxanne Perez being the Iron Woman and lasting longer than anybody else has in the history of the Women's Rumble matches, at 1 hour and 7 minutes and like 40 something seconds. Absolutely incredible display from Roxanne Perez. Basically just her having a chance there to basically go at Bayley and say, like, I took the record off of you, and I'm the future of the women's division. We then have Giulia come out and join the fray, the other member of this match that's going to take place at NXT Vengeance Day. I mean, you put those three in a match, it should be absolutely tremendous, right? It's got absolute banger written all over it, really. But Giulia would come out and basically say, like, look, this isn't a foregone conclusion here. I'm the women's champion, and I'm going to be both of you. Basically, is what she would say regarding all of that. And then moments later, we'd have Charlotte Flair coming out. She said she was going to go to NXT. She said she was going to go to SmackDown. This was her first stop after Raw. And she would basically approach the three women, and she would basically highlight Giulia, actually, and sort of like almost like praise her, which was quite different from how she would handle things with from Rhea Ripley the night before on Raw. So quite a little difference there. But ultimately, she would say how she is the queen. No matter who she faces at WrestleMania, she is going to beat. And if it's any of these three women who are the NXT Women's Champion and she chooses them, she'll beat them as well. So, it's essentially what you'd expect from Charlotte Flair. After that little conversation between the four of them, we then have Cora Jade come on in with a kendo stick. She would do swinging for the fences. She'd attack Giulia and Bayley. She'd even take a swing at Roxanne Perez. Roxanne would throw a backhanded comment towards Cora earlier in the night during this little conversation between the four women. And yeah, she would actually swing for Roxy as well. So the first time we've really seen Cora, basically turn on Roxanne Perez ever since, she's come back onto the scene. And yeah, that's quite interesting. She would hold the title up at the end of the segment, basically saying, she's coming for the championship in her own way as well. Obviously, she'd have to wait until after this triple threat. Segments after that would include Carmen Petrovic going one-on-one with Kalani Jordan. She would actually defeat Kalani via a referee's decision. Kalani would win the match. She'd get the 1-2-3. But then afterwards, Kalani, this new vicious side of her, she continued to pop in a submission hold. She wouldn't let it go. She'd continue it. Like, even the referee, couldn't get her off of it. And eventually, the referee would say, you know what, right, reverse my decision. Carmen Petrovic wins. And yeah, this new side of Kalani Jordan, because of Jada Parker at ringside, she's gonna have to learn to control her anger. But it's a very different side of Kalani. It's quite interesting. I'm quite liking where this is going. It's something different from her, and I like what they're doing. Something new to try and get used to each week. And then in the main event of NXT, we would have a tag team match. It would be A-Town Down Under going up against Obafemi and Trick Williams. We would have a tag team match here that, would go basically as you'd expect it to, back and forth. The heels eventually getting into a bit of momentum. Obafemi coming on in and completely turning things around, controlling the offense. It would actually come down to Trick Williams being tagged back in. And A-Town Down Under would get the victory here because of Eddie Thorpe's action. So Eddie Thorpe still clearly not over, Trick Williams, the whole NXT title picture. Going back to earlier this year, and he would attack Trick Williams with a strap. That would cost Trick Williams the match. Theory and Waller would quickly pick up the win shortly after that, and we would have the ending segment with Eddie Thorpe standing there with a strap, basically just like posing for the cameras. But that would be the end of the NXT episode for this week. Quite interesting here. A few different segments. I'm really hyped for the triple threat match at Vengeance Day for the Women's Championship. I'm sure you will be as well, Nick. But what about that, as well as Eddie Thorpe still trying to stay relevant here with Trick Williams? Could lead to a match between those two perhaps going forward. Obviously, Trick's not in the NXT title picture. That could be something to do with that as well then, perhaps. But what do you make between all of this, all of these segments here, and this new side of Kalani Jordan as well?
Yeah, the segment between Charlotte, Giulia, and Bayley and Roxanne. I mean, good Lord, the amount of talent just there in general. Charlotte, as you mentioned, kind of praising Giulia, which I think is the as if anyone thought there was a chance she would challenge for an NXT title again. I think her being praised, I think kind of puts any of that to rest if there were actually any of those people out there. And then adding Cora Jade in that mix as well. Why not? An interesting angle for her to come in there and do that. But the triple threat at Vengeance Day, probably the one I'm looking forward to most as of now. And there's no way that can't be match of the night. Looking forward to that one. Kalani Jordan flirting with turning heel. It was a bit strange to me, the referee reversing the decision after the fact. I'm not if I've seen that before. It's been a long time, but I thought that was kind of strange. But the key takeaway being Kalani flirting with being a heel. I'm a fan of Kalani. I think I've made that quite obvious. But her as a face just isn't really doing it. I think most people would agree that a heel turn could do nothing but help. Interested to see where they take that. And as far as in-ring talent, I think she has everything she needs. So maybe this heel, maybe she'll strike gold with the heel character and kind of help elevate her character a little bit. Main event felt exactly like you said, exactly what you'd expect in the random putting people together. I felt like Eddie Thorpe was a bit much. Like wasn't really needed here, was he? Between Oba and Trick, that tension wasn't enough. You needed to add something else. So that was kind of interesting. We'll see where they take that. As you said, maybe just trying to stay relevant in the picture. But it felt like maybe a bit. I guess Trick and Eddie go their way, and then Ova continue to deal with A-Town down, which will be an interesting match for Vengeance Day. I think we can all say that. I'm not sure how they're going to book that. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that because we haven't been back here to talk about that match. And how exactly they'll book that. Oba just going to come off as a complete monster and bury these guys, or how do you think that's going to play out? But overall, I think it was a great episode of NXT, and I think it's a testament just to we've talked about this off air tons, but NXT and the women's division just basically having more talent than the men, and the men's feeling like you're kind of lacking talent in a big way. And maybe that's a reason why, sort of off topic, we're seeing all these new shows about this developmental talent coming up, because the men's seems like they are in desperate need of more talent, while the NXT has seemingly become like a woman's brand at this point. Each and every story feels relevant, and just tons of women just to try to get in each week. But yeah, this is a great NXT, and I'm sure welcomed by you due to the Rumble and the Raw results. So yeah, I think I give this one like an 8 out of 10. It was really fun watching and quite enjoyable.
Well, first things first, we gave this the same rating. I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well. Like you said, I did enjoy it. I think it was a nice change of pace from the main roster shenanigans at the moment. So I can hide away in NXT and enjoy myself whilst all hell was breaking loose on main roster. So I'm happy here. This is my safe place. But yeah, in terms of what you said though, A-Town Down Under going up against Ova Femi in that triple threat match, I can only see Ova Femi winning, personally speaking, but it's an interesting dynamic, essentially a triple threat, but with a tag team involved. We've seen these before in the past. It's going to be that classic, they'll work together at first, and then one of them will see an opening, maybe with Ova down or at the ring, and they'll attempt to get a pinfall on the other. And then from there, it'll be, what are you doing? Maybe a lad thrown in there afterwards if it's Theory on Waller. And then, yeah, it'll basically go from there, and it will spiral into a triple threat, more traditionally speaking. So, yeah, I mean, interesting for sure, but kind of looking forward to it taking place because it's completely different. It's not something we see very often. So I'm quite liking that, actually. But yeah, Ova Femi to win, that'll be the main talking point. But yeah, you mentioned it was quite interesting seeing that referee's decision being reversed in Carmen and Kalani's match. That was strange. You don't see that often at all, but it was kind of cool, actually. I didn't mind it. Kalani's obviously got this change of mentality at the moment, and it's going to come with its drawbacks. It's not all sunshine and roses. You have to sort of like take accountability for your actions, and yeah, I guess that's basically what this is all about. But yeah, Jada Parker, she's played a big part of this one, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes therefore. And yeah, just generally excited for that women's division triple threat match for the women's championship. Really looking forward to it. Can't wait, and it's going to just probably tear the house down. But you've said about the difference between the men's and the women's rosters. The women's is absolutely stacked. The men's is not so much. I feel like they're doing a decent job. They do have some bigger names now. But I suppose if you've got Eddie Thorpe in amongst that situation, I don't know. I think they've still got a little ways to go, me personally speaking. But yeah, very good episode of NXT. Really enjoyed it. And hey, guys, if you enjoyed it as well, please let us know in the comments what you thought about it, or the goods or the bads. And if you liked what we're putting out here, then please hit a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be coming up with our next one very, very soon, which is going to be our SmackDown recap. And yeah, we're basically going to be doing that immediately after this. So hey, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, for listening in. This has been the Cook Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much, guys, and bye-bye.